A federal court has granted an emergency stay blocking the deportation of migrants detained at airports around the United States due to Donald Trump's immigration ban. The federal court for the Eastern District of New York issued the stay Saturday evening after only 2 of 12 refugees held at JFK Airport were released, after 14 and 24 hours respectively. The ACLU had filed a petition on their behalf, but the stay is effective nationwide. Under the stay, none of the travelers held at airports across the nation can be sent back. However, the measure doesn't mean they have to be allowed into the country, leaving them in a gray area. Earlier on Saturday, Donald Trump defended his new immigration measures, which prompted outrage as migrants were barred from entering the United States, including families of refugees, legal permanent residents and Ivy League students. The president denied that his executive order, which bars refugees and citizens of 7 predominantly Muslim countries from entering the U.S., was a Muslim ban. He maintained that the ban was working very nicely while chaos broke out in airports as migrants were stopped and some non-American citizens realized they were now barred from the country where they were studying or had lived, perhaps for years. Trump's comments came as 7 refugees bound for the U.S. were stopped from boarding a plane in Cairo on Saturday and 12 migrants were detained in New York overnight because they arrived just after the executive order was signed, prompting a massive protest and a cab strike. Additional reports of dozens of people being stopped from entering the U.S. or booted off airplanes have been pouring in. The ACLU estimates that 100 to 200 people were detained across the country. It's not a Muslim ban, but we are totally prepared, Trump told reporters in the Oval Office Saturday afternoon, according to The Hill. It's working out very nicely. You see it in the airports, you see it all over. It's working out very nicely and we are going to have a very, very strict ban and we are going to have extreme vetting, which we should have had in this country for many years. The stay issued Saturday evening blocks the situation pending a permanent ruling. The ACLU lawyers who handled the case will now file for class certification, which means other people affected by the order will be able to benefit from the stay as part of a class action. The measure means detained travelers cannot be deported back to their home countries, but it does not force authorities to allow them into the U.S. Judge Ann Donnelly ruled that sending them back would expose them to irreparable harm. Trump's ban affects citizens from Iraq, Syria, Iran, Sudan, Libya, Somalia, and Yemen. The temporary stay also protects refugees with an approved case. It is unclear what will happen to those detained. Crowds of demonstrators who had gathered at airports and outside the Brooklyn courthouse let out cheers when news of the temporary stay broke. This ruling preserves the status quo and ensures that people who have been granted permission to be in this country are not illegally removed off U.S. soil, Deputy Director of the ACLU's Immigrants' Rights Project Lee Jell Ernst, who argued the case, said. ACLU Executive Director Anthony D. Romero added, clearly the judge understood the possibility for irreparable harm to hundreds of immigrants and lawful visitors to this country. Our courts today worked as they should as bulwarks against government abuse or unconstitutional policies and orders. On week 1, Donald Trump suffered his first loss in court. Panic previously broke out after Department of Homeland Security issued a directive at 4:30 p.m. on Friday enforcing Trump's executive order to close down the borders to refugees and visa holders from a list of banned Muslim-majority countries. A DHS official said 109 people who were already on airplanes had been denied entry and 173 had not been allowed to get onto their flights abroad. Reports of people being detained were coming from all around the United States on Saturday. They're literally pouring in by the minute, Director of the International Refugee Assistance Project Becca Heller told the New York Times. About 50 people were held at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, USA Today reported. 50 people were also detained at Dallas International Airport, where protesters gathered. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe and Attorney General Mark Herring have said the state could take legal action against the ban. One Yale student said he would be unable to attend the prestigious Ivy League university. Another student from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology said he was barred from boarding a plane. A Stanford University student, a Sudanese national and legal permanent resident with a green card, was held for 8 hours at JFK before being able to return to California. An Iranian scientist was meant to fly to Boston to study cardiovascular medicine at Harvard but has now had his visa suspended indefinitely. This outstanding young scientist has enormous potential to make contributions that will improve our understanding of heart disease, and he has already been thoroughly vetted, Professor Thomas Michel, who was going to supervise the student, told the New York Times. Up to 13 people were detained at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, KUOW reported. 11 people were held at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported. 13 were detained at Chicago O'Hare according to the Chicago Tribune. At least 50 Iranians were held at Los Angeles International Airport, the LA Times wrote. 2 families of 6 from Syria were affected. One was supposed to relocate to Cleveland, Ohio, after having to flee their home in 2014. But their trip has now been cancelled. Another family of 6 from the war-torn country was detained at Philadelphia International Airport Saturday morning even though they had required legal documents and approved green cards and visas. Plane passengers were turned away in Dubai and Istanbul, including at least one family who got ejected from a flight. The fallout from Trump's immigration crackdown grew on Saturday. The visa ban sparked fear for some refugees who were already on their way to the U.S. when the order came into effect and were detained on arrival. It is not clear how many refugees or visa holders are already being detained across the country. 12 refugees were held in New York City's JFK on Friday night. Cabs at the airport went on strike for an hour from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. to protest against the ban. Travelers reported that police stopped allowing people without plane tickets onto the air train, which goes to the airport terminals, during the evening. Governor Andrew Cuomo, however, ordered authorities to let protesters onto the air train, saying in a statement relayed by ABC that one of the fundamental rights that is granted to the people of this country is the right to peacefully protest. Hamid Khalid Darwesh, one of the Iraqi refugees who was detained for 14 hours at New York, was released on Saturday afternoon. The second detainee, Haider Samir Abdul Khalek al-Shai, was released around 7 p.m. on Saturday after 24 hours. Darwesh, 53, had arrived in America on a flight from Istanbul on Friday night, just hours after Trump implemented the immigration ban. He had worked for the U.S. government in Iraq for 10 years as a translator, engineer and contractor and had a valid special immigration visa to relocate to America. Al-Shai, 33, who was approved for a visa on January 11, was flying to America to join his wife and son in Texas. "I'm sleepy and tired and exhausted," he told the New York Post after being released Saturday. Darwesh pumped his fist in the air outside the airport following his release, as a crowd of supporters cheered him on. "First of all, I want to thank the people that take care of me and support me. This is the humility, this is the soul of America," he told a crowd gathered outside the airport. "This is what pushed me to move, leave my country and come here. America is the land of freedom. America is the greatest nation, the greatest people in the world." Asked what he thought of Trump, he said, "I don't know. He's a president, I'm a normal person." He was traveling with his wife and 3 children at the time, but they were not detained. They were heading to Charlotte, North Carolina to start their new life in America. Lawyers for Darwesh and another Iraqi, Haider Samir Abdul Khalek al-Shai, who is still detained at JFK, filed a lawsuit on Saturday morning in a bid to have them released. The 2 men were on separate flights when immigration officials stopped them on Friday night and took their passports when they landed in New York. 10 other refugees are still being held at JFK Airport. Republican lawmakers have spoken out against Trump's immigration ban. Senator Chris Murphy tweeted, "To my colleagues, don't ever again lecture me on American moral leadership if you chose to be silent today." He later called the emergency stay a temporary victory. Representative Charlie Dent also spoke out against Trump's order. "This is ridiculous," he told The Washington Post. "I guess I understand what his intention is, but unfortunately the order appears to have been rushed through without full consideration. You know, there are many nuances of immigration policy that can be life or death for many innocent, vulnerable people around the world." Representative Justin Amash questioned whether the measure was legal. "It's not lawful to ban immigrants on basis of nationality," he tweeted. "If the president wants to change immigration law, he must work with Congress." Earlier on Saturday, Cairo airport officials said 7 U.S.-bound migrants, 6 from Iraq and 1 from Yemen, were prevented from boarding an Egypt Air flight to New York's JFK Airport. The officials said the 7 migrants, escorted by officials from the UN Refugee Agency, were stopped from boarding the plane on Saturday after authorities at Cairo Airport contacted their counterparts in JFK Airport. The action at Cairo Airport was the first there since Trump imposed the 3-month ban on refugees. Dutch airline KLM says it had to turn away 7 would-be passengers because they would no longer have been accepted into the United States. "We would love to bring them there. That's not the problem. It's just that this is what the US spraying on the rest of the world, that these people are no longer welcome," Manal Rajanhoek, at KLM's press office, said. She said the 7, who were from the 7 blacklisted countries, were due to fly with KLM from different airports around the world. The Arab American Anti-Discrimination Committee said there was chaos at airports and in the air following Trump's ban, with the organization already receiving calls for help from green card and other visa holders after being refused admission. Visas being denied immediately. Chaos at airports and in the air. Muslim ban will apply to green card holders attempting to return tonight, the ADC's Abed Ayoub tweeted on Friday night. Trump's ban puts a 90-day pause on visas and immigration from 7 countries including Iraq, Syria, Sudan, Iran, Libya, Yemen, and Somalia. The order also puts a 120-day ban on all refugee entries into the country and declares that refugees from Syria are not welcome until further notice. After that period of time, refugees will be accepted only from countries that the State and Homeland Security Departments decide are safe to work with. Iran's foreign ministry suggested the country would limit issuing visas to American tourists in retaliation for Trump's suspension of immigration and visas. The official IRNA news agency carried a statement by the Iranian Foreign Ministry on Saturday that said Iran will resort to counteraction to Trump's executive order. Iran, to defend the dignity of the great Iranian nation, will implement the principle of reciprocity until the removal of the insulting restriction against Iranian nationals, the statement read. It will apply corresponding legal, consular and political actions. The 2 countries have had no diplomatic relations since 1979 when militants stormed the U.S. Embassy. Google urged its staff traveling overseas on Friday to immediately return to the U.S. if they would be affected by the order. CEO Sundar Pichai issued a memo slamming Trump's order, saying 100 employees were affected, Bloomberg reports. The tech company feared its employees, even though they have valid visas, would be stopped from returning to the country. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg hit out at Trump, condemning his anti-immigration bans. "The United States is a nation of immigrants, and we should be proud of that," Zuckerberg said. It follows reports that Muslim-majority countries with ties to Trump's business empire have been excluded from the order, Bloomberg reports. Statistics show Trump doesn't have any business relations with the 7 blacklisted countries, but does with Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and Turkey. Trump's order declares that U.S. policy is to protect its citizens from foreign nationals who intend to commit terrorist attacks in the United States, and to prevent the admission of foreign nationals who intend to exploit United States immigration laws for malevolent purposes. It also gives Homeland Security 60 days to begin providing the president with the names of other countries to add to the list. The nation will limit the total refugee resettlement numbers to 50,000 per year, according to the order. Trump's executive order declares that the U.S. will prioritize refugee claims made by individuals on the basis of religious-based persecution. But that only applies when the religion of the individual is a minority religion in the individual's country of nationality. Also affected by the order is an Oscar-nominated Iranian director, who won't be able to attend the Hollywood award ceremony due to the new immigration bans. Asghar Farhadi is nominated in the Best Foreign Film category for his movie The Salesman, but there are fears he may now not be able to attend next month's Academy Awards. His native Iran, which is where The Salesman was filmed, is one of 7 countries listed in Trump's executive order that has placed a 90-day pause on visas and immigration to the U.S. Trita Parsi, president of the National Iranian American Council, tweeted on Saturday morning that Farhadi would be banned from attending the Oscars in what has become yet another fallout from Trump's immigration bans. Iran's Asghar Farhadi won't be let into the U.S. to attend Oscars. He's nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. Muslim ban, he wrote. An Iranian-born actress who stars in Farhadi's The Salesman vowed to boycott the Oscars over Trump's immigration bans. Trinala Dousti, the 33-year-old known as the Natalie Portman of Iran, took to Twitter with a message for fans on Thursday. Trump's visa ban for Iranians is racist. Whether this will include a cultural event or not, I won't attend the Academy Awards 2017 in protest, she tweeted. Farhadi won an Oscar in 2012 for his film A Separation. The Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences has backed the director. The Academy celebrates achievement in the art of filmmaking, which seeks to transcend borders and speak to audiences around the world, regardless of national, ethnic, or religious differences, it told you in a statement. As supporters of filmmakers, and the human rights of all people, around the globe, we find it extremely troubling that Asghar Farhadi, the director of the Oscar-winning film from Iran A Separation, along with the cast and crew of this year's Oscar-nominated film The Salesman, could be barred from entering the country because of their religion or country of origin. Country because of their religion or country of origin. Country because of their religion or country